Good morning and welcome to Tallinn, everybody, distinguished guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 15 years since the World Summit on the Information Society process, which involved 175 countries, that started the establishment of the foundations for an information society for all. Virtually all countries have their visions, ambitions, and action plans towards the all-inclusive information society. And last year, we celebrated another significant mark in internet usage. It's a milestone of half of the world's population as internet users. This milestone was passed. The amount of time that people spend on the internet, this has also gone up over the past 12 months. Today, we have well over 4 billion internet users already. The average user spends 6 hours each day using internet-powered devices and services. That's roughly 1/3 of their waking lives. If we add this together for all 4 billion of the world's internet users, we would spend a staggering 1 billion years online in 2018. Technology is enhancing our lives. It's running somewhere in the backstage. We don't even notice sometimes that it is there. Of course, none of us spends 6 hours simply on the gadgets. Some do, but not normal people. Today, internet has this place in our lives that we only notice it when it disappears. But the usage of IT differs substantially on different levels of society and between countries in the world. When we look digital adoption at individual users level, business level and government level, we recognize that individual users adopt digital services mostly by using mobile internet and smartphones, even at the very low income and wealth level. Therefore, we can now say that technology provides great leverage to the people's chances of having access to services and some qualities of life. Businesses have rather the opposite, later phase approach to digital adoption. On government and public administration segment, we see a huge diversity of approaches, with countries of low GDP utilizing modern and innovative approaches to reorganize its structures and provide user-friendly services, simply because otherwise they cannot do it. Only if they use the technologies they can do it. This is also the origin of Estonian e-governance model, obviously, because after regaining independence, our people immediately demanded the service level of Scandinavia because they know how everything functions in Scandinavia, and we had absolutely no chance of providing anything similar without the quick adoption to the technology. In the meantime, many countries with high GDP, they have not been so successful when it comes to e-government enrollment. And this is, for me, a clear evidence that digital adoption has made a significant contribution and value to the individual users around the world. And government's digital adoption is not the issue of financial resources or technology that is available. The critical factors are somewhere else. It's vision, political will, commitment, clear roadmaps with strong coordination, and most importantly, they have to be centered on the user, on the citizen, in the e-government design and architecture. If you can get past the first stage and steps and your people start using public services over technology, the whole system changes radically in this sense that it becomes customer-driven, citizen-driven therefore, because citizen is an e-government customer. And you cannot stop developing it anymore because people are noticing that mirroring services in the private sector are developing and getting better and less cumbersome to use, etc. So they come regularly back to a digital state and ask the state to do the same. Therefore, if you are an early adopter of e-governance, like Estonia is, then it will continue developing as internet, and internet capabilities are developing all the time, because internet in 2018 is not the same as it was in 2003. And this process has turned to citizen-driven. We don't put out offers for public, they demand the government to do more. Today we do not speak about the use of ICT as should, could, or nice to have, but as a must-have, obviously. We cannot afford not to be digital, and we cannot afford not to have e-government. Here in Estonia, of course, you will have a riot if you say to people that we'll go back on paper. In less well digitally developed governance models, there might not be riots, and some might even be happy that, okay, all my data is so safe, government doesn't have my data in digital files, wonderful thing. But in fact, it would be irresponsible. Why? Because people and businesses, they are anyway in the internet. They're all there. And it's unfair if the government leaves them there alone. Without clear meanings, possibilities of safe identification in the internet sphere, without clear possibilities to exchange data so that it is encrypted and nobody can look from the outside. It's just unfair. The social disruption caused by digitalization is already here anyway, and all of us should realize that, because people and businesses have done it. Governments have no option today. They have to follow. Everybody is affected, and nobody can say that since I am not assured that digital is 200% safe, I'm not doing it. It's just not possible. And guess what? The great news is that digital doesn't have to be 100% or 200% safe and secure. How secure does it need to be? I would say it has to be at least more secure than the paper analog is. If it's more safe than paper, it's secure. I believe this is very important because discussion about internet safety and internet security cannot be ignored. Technological transformation and digitalization profoundly affect our jobs, our industries, our education and welfare, our social security and health systems. While we manage this process, it is so essential that all countries embrace technological change in order to ensure a sustainable digital future for their citizens. While we address the challenges of a rapidly changing world, we must offer citizens this both protection and new opportunities. We need to test whether our governance models are sustainable through these disruptions, and not only sustainable in the tech world, not sustainable in security elements only. For example, we have a far more wider question about our tax base. If everything is digital, work is digital, everything can be delivered globally, work can be done globally, geographically neutral way, people can work everywhere, industrial jobs are vanishing. What will happen to our tax base? Well, the old-fashioned way is you go to work 12 months a year, 8 hours per day, and you do this for 30 years. Then you retire. But the young people don't work this way. They work intermittently. They work independently. The number of independent workers goes up constantly. They simply live their lives until money runs out from the previous gig they did over internet, of course. The previous work they did was in Australia. New work is in Ukraine, and they themselves sit in Canada. Governments have to think how they will replace the current models of tax river flowing in from lifetime of careers defined as employee or employer and everybody gathering into enterprise to create added value. It's gone. It will be gone. There will be new streams, but there will not be such a river from one address like it used to be. It's an intermittent trickle from varied streams, and it may not be any more linkable with any geographical state at all. What should we do? We have an increasingly important role and responsibility to ensure that citizens are in the center of their national as well as international efforts. And governments have to take this as an opportunity, not as a threat. They have to increase both their digital service offering and their presence online. For example, if you're an Estonian citizen and you use the opportunity of a free European job market, then we as a government see you still as our citizen. How do we demonstrate it? For example, you can e-vote. You can participate in Estonian elections without additional cost of buying a plane ticket or using the unsafe envelope voting method. Because I think it's very unsafe to put the vote in an envelope and send it to the balloting office. You don't know whether it arrives there. You do not know whether it was counted. There is absolutely no feedback. We don't do this to our citizens. We offer them the opportunity to work in Spain or Italy and vote online. Doesn't take any time and is safe. You get confirmation that your vote was counted. And this needs to get wider. We need to offer full curriculum Estonian school online. We have elements of it. We have an around the world Estonian school where people can learn terminology, and to some extent it helps. But quite soon, I think we need a fully online school model so that people who want their children to grow up Estonian can make it happen wherever they are. Our obligation to provide education to our citizens in their mother tongue, isn't it? What to do if my citizens are everywhere? Yes, everybody has a diaspora, and many people represented here have countries with big diasporas also caused by unfortunate situations in your countries. But you want these people to your people. We want it, and therefore we realize that all we need to be for them is a safe hub. We absolutely have to be a safe hub to our citizens so that they would want to have a social contract with us. They would pay taxes to us according to a model which we don't have yet and which we are finding very difficult to define because there are all kinds of OECD rules and international agreements which do not function for this kind of new environment. We made a start during our EU Council presidency. We organized the ministries of finance to discuss taxing the digital society. So we need to take it forward and we need to take it global. Because we understand that the old world is not going to come back. And the risk is that if we leave it too late, our people learn to opt out of the systems we offer. Because simply by telling people that we do not give you healthcare unless you pay social tax from a limited number of sources where you have an employment contract, it wouldn't do. They will opt out. Better off among them will go private, and those who are not so well off, they will try to opt in later. And if I may remind you, there is only one system which penalizes late incoming, and this is pension system in the countries where you have more than pay-as-you-go system. All other systems are very useful for late opt-ins. So if you have children and they want to go to school at one point when you are, let's say, even 40 nowadays, then you opt in. You come back to the old-fashioned model. But your best years of earning probably are behind you at that point, and we have lost the taxes. This is simply not reasonable. This simply doesn't make any sense. We need to think about it. But while we are thinking about these aspects, where I want to stress they are happening anyway, whether we allow them or we not allow them, or we want them or we don't want them, they are happening anyway. Meanwhile, we need to teach our population and society the internet safety, the digital world safety, the cyber hygiene, because otherwise they will be in danger, working this new way, checking back this new way, voting even new way. We talk a lot about cyber defense. Even today in Tallinn, there is also the Munich Security Conference organizing a cyber defense discussion. But this is military. Civil society is as important, and as horrible things can happen using civil society intention technology in Internet of Things. So people need to be taught how to be safe in the internet. We don't know what technologies there will be in the future. Blockchain is there. I think blockchain is a stabilizer and a safety creator because it's not anonymous. blockchain can be a great value offer for governments trying to give their citizens a very important tool of safety, identification. We have it, it's time-stamped, and it exists since the turn of the century, but we now see that this technology platform probably needs to be radically renewed, because everything gets a little bit used and old, and then you need to change it and provide for a new one. It will not be safe anymore to use the old one. And guess what? We are quite proud that we are saving 2% of our GDP by signing digitally and doing things online. For a while it has been a saving. Now we see that the need to invest into upkeep and new service development is making our costs looking quite similar to the benefits. So I'm quite open here. You need to continue investing, because your people want not only the maintenance of the services, which you cannot do staying forever on the old platforms, but they want also the advances in the services. We believe the cost will not exceed the gains, and in addition, the cost is public sector gains are evenly distributed. The biggest benefactors are who? Always simple people and SMEs. Why? Because big businesses have their ways of working with big bureaucracies. They can afford it. Compared to their turnover, this is nothing. State bureaucracy is manageable for them. But for simple people and SMEs, this is a game changer. This is a great equalizer. Suddenly you are equal on the job market. Even some people who were totally uncompetitive on any kind of job market become now competitive. Handicapped people, for example. Girls without education can pass a simple digital course and become somebody who works online, doing something there. Bookkeeping, maybe. Even simpler things, registering something, finding something online. It's all possible. Autistic people who couldn't face job market before, now they can. I know autistic people sometimes, like to do monotonous stuff like, for example, knit red socks. Previously, you had absolutely no chance of making living with this habit that you like to knit red socks day in and day out. Now you have. Previously, you couldn't, because autistic people don't go around markets selling red socks. They are not able to brand red socks face-to-face. Online, they can easily sell, because they don't have to see us, the neurotypical people. They can sell to us. Previously, in their own village or town, be it even a big town, they couldn't find clients for so many red socks. Globally, no problem, I mean. Among billions of people, there is enough takers for one guy knitting red socks with a nice moving story behind it. Great equalizer. You see, digital is not only for well-educated, entrepreneurial people. It can change the world and lives of socially vulnerable classes much better. And this is the ambition and this is the goal we should always have. To reach everybody, to make it inclusive, and particularly to make those benefit who otherwise have less chances than the others. Quite a number of people have for years thought that digital is only useful for engineers and very well-educated people who happen to live close by to a quick internet connection. Not true. Mobile internet suffices for most digital services which are provided online. Therefore, they also can be provided by people living in rural areas online. These are the best practices of digitalization which are inclusive. One way of being inclusive, of course, is do it our way, that everybody has the digital signature and everybody is involved in the same model. You know, private sector loves it too, because what we call inclusive in public sector, for them, what does it mean? It's very simple. It's mass market, isn't it? Same thing. We learned it not from, well, just because we had a clever government here. We had a private sector who realized that in a country which is not densely populated, for them to be profitable offering services to them, they need to do it online. So they told the government that they will create the services if the government creates platform. So we did. And the private companies, of course, reaped as many benefits, because you don't find, for example, banks outside of big towns in Estonia, because nobody would go there anyway. 99% of transactions are online. When I created this system, we didn't know that there will be, beside of our secured system, will be a competing wild world of internet, well, epitomized by Facebook and the hearings about what exactly has been available to them, what exactly they have been doing with this data, etc. We didn't realize it, but accidentally we created a safe environment of technology use for our people. Precisely because they are not anonymous and their connections are encrypted. I believe this has helped us also to avoid some of the pitfalls of the wild internet. Because if you know that there is a safe thing out there, you must automatically conclude that if you are not using the cybernetically hygienic tools, then it's unsafe. And I really feel for governments who now have to come into the Internet of Things and teach their people cyber hygiene and safe internet use. Yet the choice is not there. The choice is being taken away by these 4 billion people using internet all the time. I'm quite sure that you here, who are gathered here, are ready and eager to develop these services in your countries, and many have them already. A final word of warning. If you're starting now, please, as I said, make it inclusive. Make it together with private sector, common platform, open to everybody to create new services. And then try to, while you are taking and teaching your people online, try to start from the services which demand less trust of your people. E-voting is a very useful tool, but you cannot start from e-voting. You cannot start from it because it's a high trust demand service. You have to start from delivering social support, for example. People don't like to go and queue for social support in richer countries because neighbors might see, in poorer countries because simply they don't have time and resources, because their home life burden is so heavy that taking time to go and queue, well, is not available. Register children online to school, quite doable. Again, low trust service, people will trust it. And when people are getting used to, and you notice also that there are no cyber incidents linked to low level of cyber hygiene, then you can move on to the higher trust demand services from the public sector. I think it will still work better, despite the fact that many citizens globally trust really, well, I would say, interestingly, let's say online banking, but they don't trust their own government to have a digital database of medical information. Beats me, I don't know what governments have done wrong. This is the question very often asked from us. How did you gain the trust of the people? I said we've never lost it, obviously. I don't know what went wrong, but I've noticed that nowadays it seems best to give this word of caution. Start with low trust demand services. Online tax board is one of the first places where people normally start because nobody wants to see the taxman, which was the slogan of the creators of the Estonian digital state at the turn of the century. We repeated to each other all the time, nobody wants to see the taxman, and we did an electronic tax board so that people at least can painlessly pay their taxes. I wish you interesting and fruitful discussions, and I also hope that you will find time to enjoy the beauty of old and modern parts of Tallinn and Estonia as a whole. Don't take the weather for granted, it's very unusual. So when you come back next year or the year after, don't be disappointed to see snow falling. Good luck to you.